Greetings, my beautiful soul. Thank you for joining me for today's video. My name is Clara Abdi-Daluz, and I'm grateful to be here with you today. Today's video was inspired by a question on another video that I made about loneliness and how to overcome it. Well, let's begin with what is loneliness really? Loneliness is about feeling disconnected. Now, a lot of us think that we feel lonely because we are missing something on the outside of us. So I'm lonely because I don't have certain friends, or I'm not in a relationship. But really, the disconnection, this outside disconnection, is actually a reflection of the disconnection on the inside. True reality is that we are all connected. All of us connected to one another, all of us connected to nature, to the animals, to the plants, to everything that exists in the universe. We are all interconnected. And I want you to think about a moment in your life where you felt really amazing, some kind of beautiful moment or time in your life. Notice that you feel in that moment, you felt this connection to everything, or you felt held by everything, or you were connecting. You might have been connecting to nature, you might have been connecting to a group of people or to one person, but there was this feeling of connection. In that moment, you weren't feeling lonely because you were feeling connected. And if you really tune in, you will notice that you also felt a very strong connection to yourself. It is actually difficult to feel connected to others or to nature when one feels disconnected from oneself. So you might go to a party, as an example, and if you're not feeling good inside yourself, you'll probably you'll feel a disconnection, even though there's people there. Imagine going to the same party and feeling really amazing on the inside. You'll probably be connecting to others and feeling the connection with them. It doesn't have to be a party. It can be going into nature. And of course, the environment can help us shift. In fact, that is one way to overcome this feeling of disconnection, is to go into nature, to start to feel connected to things. Now, sometimes when we go into nature and we're not feeling good, we still feel that disconnection. And in that case, what's important to do is to kind of tune into that feeling and try to release the feeling. So the reason for feeling disconnected could be that there's some grief. If you're feeling grief, you can try to release the grief into the earth. You might be feeling fear. If you're feeling fear, you can imagine floating above the fear, going into the air, being like an eagle that's flying above any obstacles that might be below you. The reason that I'm talking about these different elements is because each element is connected to a certain negative emotion and is the most helpful to healing that negative emotion or releasing it. So I'm planning to make some videos about these different emotions and the elements that can heal them. But you can also tune into yourself and also recall what makes you feel most connected, and try to do whatever that is, whether it could be singing or dancing. As I said, going into the forest, maybe going to the ocean. All of us have certain connection to things, that maybe doing art, writing, that often help us. And the thing is to have, it's best to have a list of all these things, because some days one of them might not work, so then you can try a different one. And the practice is to notice the moment when you are starting to feel disconnected. So for example, you wake up in the morning. Are you right away going into a negative thought loop about something that happened or something that's coming? If you are, then start a meditation right away, or go take a shower. It's important to shift out of that. Sometimes you might wake up and feel good, and after a bit of time you start to notice like a creepy feeling, not creepy but creeping, a feeling, negative emotion that's creeping into your energy field. This is the time to do something about it. It's more difficult to shift something once it's been more saturated in our field. So let's say you wake up and you feel good, and you're thinking of getting up, but then you decide to, I don't know, go on your phone or whatever you might be doing in bed. And you start to notice this feeling, and if you don't go and get up and take your shower, or don't go and start doing something, you will realize that it's becoming harder and harder to get up. Suddenly you're kind of stuck in this negative loop, and you're feeling bad, feeling disconnected or lonely. And when we're in these negative loops, we might start to recall all the negative things that have happened, or the friend that didn't respond to your message, or the one that canceled on you, or just feeling like you don't have enough friends. And then this feeling of disconnection and loneliness can amplify. So number one, try to notice when this is happening, and then change what you're doing to shift out of that based on the things that you that make you feel connected. And another thing is sometimes the blocks can be really big. Sometimes the trauma that we haven't worked through is big. I've also been in this place. And in that case, there is always a way forward. And you might not be able to tackle the biggest trauma that is continuing to show up in your life, but you can tackle other things. And what happens when we start to, in every moment, there is the potential to heal something. And if you tune into your intuition, you will see what that is. And even though you might be wanting to work on this big issue, if you're not ready to work on it, it will be very hard to shift that. So it's important to pay attention to what is coming up and work with that. I've actually spent many years healing things this way, and it can be a little frustrating always working on something else when you want to be working on this thing or whatever. Sometimes we also have to work on the same issue multiple times, kind of in a spiral where it feels almost the same, but it's not, because we've gone one layer deeper into the issue, and now we can clear more of it. It really requires a lot of determination and patience. But the reward is great, because if we don't work on our issues and we try to avoid them or escape them, we're just not going to be, eventually we do have to deal with them, or they're just going to be buried but they're not healed. And it's important to just keep going and to have faith and trust that every single thing that you are doing to connect and to heal is having a great impact. And you will begin to notice shifts in your perception. So when a layer of deep trauma is healed, you will begin to notice that the world looks different. There is a kind of different glow to things. You will suddenly see a lot more little things or details. You will notice that you can smell things more. You will hear more things. This is because the trauma was blocking this perception, and with it cleared your perception, your senses become stronger. And these are validating things on the journey. It doesn't mean that everything is now fully healed. But sometimes another thing is that you don't always have to heal everything. Sometimes when we heal something big, a bunch of other issues just fall away, because all of these things are connected. So don't feel like the path is endless. Of course, there are always things that one can work on, but you can make big shifts, and you can be in a better place. And doing this practice of noticing and releasing feelings of disconnection, it's really a matter of practice. And it will become easier and easier, and it will begin to take less time. You will just have to tune in and release it, and you'll notice that it'll shift very quickly. So it's really a practice. There isn't a magic wand, but there is your tools and your resources and your awareness of what's happening, and tuning in, shifting it, and then shifting it again whenever it comes up. And you will begin to notice that your perception of others will change, your feelings toward yourself and towards others will change, and you will begin to feel more and more connected and less alone. So some of you might be thinking, okay, Clara, but I'm actually very lonely. I actually don't have a lot of friends. They're not really there for me. This can definitely be true. I too have experienced this, absolutely. The thing is, when we shift our own energy, when we shift how we are in the world, when we shift how we connect to ourselves, things will begin to shift outside of us as well. Now, this might not be an instant thing where, as soon as we shift, lots of people are lining up to be our friend. It might be gradual. However, I have seen this shift in my life. I have noticed that I am connecting to more of the kinds of people that I wish to have in my life, with the qualities that I wish. And the important thing also is to connect to a feeling of gratitude. So every time that you meet someone that you really connect to, or you spend time with them, or even if it's not a person and you're spending time in nature and you feel connected, make sure you connect to this feeling of gratitude for this connection. The more that we can appreciate, notice and appreciate moments of connection, we are sending positive energy to that feeling of connection, and more of that will come into our lives. So that's one thing, a practical thing that you can do. Another thing is to consider why you may have trouble connecting to yourself. And sometimes there are some really big, difficult things inside. There is maybe a lot of fear, a lot of anger, a lot of grief inside you. And it's very difficult to be present for those feelings. And so we kind of push them away, or we escape. And that is not serving you. I understand. And this isn't to say that, you now have to be perfect and you can never escape anything. We all need some Netflix to escape to once in a while, whatever your escape is. Hopefully it's not something that's too toxic for you. But there are days when we just don't feel good, and of course you can take some time to just zone out, and it's important not to beat ourselves up over that, but to understand that that's the best you could do that day, and go to bed early, and then hopefully, usually there is some kind of shift in the morning, and then you just try again, and this is why I was saying to notice when you are beginning to notice a negative feeling, because at that point it's not as hard to connect and release it, or to shift out of it by doing other things, then once it's really fully in your field. So know that there are things that can support you, such as doing meditation, working with a healer, being in nature. All of these things are kind of like supports that hold space so that you can connect and release some of this. Every time that you go and you feel some of it and you release it, it is a healing. So just encourage you to continue to do that. I hope that this video was helpful for you. If you have further questions, please write them in the comments, and I will do my best to answer. And please also, for those of you who wish to answer others' questions, that's wonderful. Please do that as well. Thank you so much for watching and for being a part of this healing community. Sending you all the blessings and love.